All right, our next example is still dealing with seconds and hours, but it's going backwards. So we're still going to need the fact that 60 seconds over 1 minute or 1 minute over 60 seconds will give us our first conversion. And then our second conversion would be 60 minutes over 1 hour or 1 hour over 60 minutes will give us a second conversion factor. And we are going to have to use 2, just like we did on the problem before. So we're going to start out. I'm going to use a really long line because I think I'm going to need it. And then we're going to start out, it's 2100 seconds, so we're going to start out knowing we need seconds. And then, let me go on and put both spaces in while I'm at it. Then I'm going to need seconds down here. And the only one with seconds on the bottom has minutes on top. And that works because it's going to allow me to cancel out the seconds. But that gives me minutes, just like example 1 and 2. When I don't want minutes, I need hours. So if I have minutes up here that I need to get rid of, I have to have minutes down here so that they cancel out. But the only one that has minutes on bottom that I haven't already used, because remember, we've already used one of these, so I can't use that one anymore. So I'm going to have to go over to one of these. Besides, I want hours and my final answer. So I'm going to pull hours up here, which means I'm going to need this fraction. So now let's go in and fill the numbers in. So we start with the number we're given, which is 2100. And then I'll have 60 on the bottom with 1 minute on top. And then I'll have 60 minutes in 1 hour. So now let's go and grab a calculator, because we know this answer, since minutes are gone and seconds are gone, we know our final answer is going to be in hours. So we can go on and write hours down as our units, but let's grab a calculator. So we're going to have 2,100 divided by 60. But then there was another 60 on bottom, so I've got to divide by another 60. And that gives me 0.58, and then a bunch of 3's repeating. And there's no decimal point here, so these trailing zeros are not significant. So only the 2100, the 21 is going to be significant. So I want to draw the line between the 8 and the 3 to round. And that 3 cannot round the 8 up, so it'll be 0.58 for my final answer. Now, let's try an example that doesn't deal with time. It deals with something that every high school student knows about: money. We have nickels and we want to convert them to dimes, so I need to write some equality that deals with nickels and a number of dimes. And hopefully we all know that 2 nickels would be equivalent to 1 dime. So that means as a conversion factor, I can write 2 nickels to 1 dime, or 1 dime to 2 nickels. Again, I just don't know which way I need it until I start the problem. So let's start our problem, and to do that, let's draw the line that represents the division, and let me go on and put our multiplication line in, and then fill in what we know. So we're starting with nickels, so there's going to be a nickels up here, which means I then need nickels down here so that it'll cancel out. So go on and put the nickels there, which means I need to be using this conversion. And I want dimes in my final answer, so I'm going to put the dimes up there. And the only thing left to do is fill in the numbers. And because nickels is canceling out, I'm left with dimes for my answer, so I know once I put the numbers in and I do the calculation, I'm going to know how many dimes I could have out of the 36 nickels. So let's fill in our numbers. 36 nickels, because that's what we started with, and we know that 2 nickels is equivalent to 1 dime. So now, I don't think I need a calculator to do that. 36 divided by 2 is 18. I want 2 sig figs. I'm done. If I had 36 nickels, I could take it to the bank and they could give me 18 dimes for it. It's the same amount of money. Now, let's do an example that goes backwards, starting with dimes and how many nickels could I get for those dimes. So, last example, our conversion factors were that we could do 2 nickels to 1 dime, or we could do 1 dime to 2 nickels. So, let's pull up the units that we know. We're starting with dimes, so I'll put dimes here. But as soon as I put dimes here, that tells me that I have to have dimes down here so that they can cancel out. And that means I'm using this conversion factor. So I'll have nickels on top, which is good because I want nickels as my final answer. So what I put up here needs to be my final answer. So let's see what we've got. We have dimes canceling out. We're left with nickels. So that would give me my final answer as some number of nickels. So now let's fill in the numbers. We have 32 dimes because that's what was given to us in the problem. And now this is my conversion factor, and I want dimes on bottom, so I'll be using this one that says 2 nickels is 1 dime. And again, we don't need to go grab a calculator to do that. 32 times 2 would be 64. So that means if I had 32 dimes, that would be the equivalent amount of money to having 64 nickels. Now, we've done examples using time. We've done examples using money. Let's do an example using a length. So we have 3.2 feet equals how many inches? I don't know. That's what we need to find out. So what do we know about feet and inches? We know that in 1 foot, there would be 12 inches. So that means my conversion factors, whoops, supposed to be a T there, would be 1 foot would be equivalent to 12 inches, or 12 inches is equivalent to 1 foot. The problem will tell us which one we need. We don't need to figure that out right now. So, start them out all the same way. And my original number that I'm given is in feet, so that means I have feet here. And the only way this technique works then is if I have feet down here. As soon as I know I need feet down here, this is my conversion factor. So I'm going to have inches up here. So that means I'm set up for the feet to cancel out, leave inches, so my final answer will be in inches. I just need to fill in the numbers. So we have 3.2 feet, and we have 12 inches in 1 foot. So I do need a calculator now. We have 3.2. The 12 is hidden under there, but remember we were multiplying by 12, and I get 38.4. But I only need 2 significant figures, so I'm going to draw the line right after the 4, or right after the 8. And since 4 is not a 5, there's no chance of it rounding up, so it's going to round just to 38. And that's all there is to dealing with the length. All right, guys, you know me. I can't leave well enough alone at using lengths and time or money. I've got to come up with something that's really kind of weird. So let's see what we get. We're starting out, and we've got blips. So let's put blips up here. Now, just like the setup that we've been using all along, if I have blips up here, I need blips down here. But the only thing I know about blips is bleeps. So if this is going to be blips down here, I've got to put bleeps up here because I'm going to use this first equivalence to make a fraction. Well, that's fine and dandy, but it doesn't give me bloops. So we're going to have to do another step, just like we did with hours to seconds, to tell us how many bloops we need. So I need bloops, I don't need bleeps. So we're going to have bleeps over here so that that cancels it out. And since I've already used this one for the first conversion factor, the only thing left is this one. And besides, I want bloops as my final answer, so I need to have bloops up here. That's going to give me bloops then when I'm done for my final answer, because bleeps are gone and blips are gone. I know, it's weird. Just bear with me. So we're going to put the 8 blips, because that's what we start with. And then the conversion for bleeps and blips, 9 bleeps was 4 blips. And then the bleeps to bloops, it was 3 bleeps is 5 bloops. So, now, what do I have? Well, let's pull out a calculator, and I'm going to move it a little bit so that I can actually see my numbers. So I have 8 times 9 times 5, because that's all on top. Now, divided by 4, because that's on bottom, and divided by 3, because that's on bottom. You multiply the things that are on top, and you divide by the things that are on bottom. So when I hit equals, that tells me that I should have 30 bloops.